Welcome you.
Kia ora, North Korea. Thank you to each and every one of you for coming here tonight. Come on, clap for yourselves. There we go. I want to thank, there's a bunch of people here that I can say, and I don't want to point you out because I don't know if you want to be pointed out, but thank you. You know who you are for the hospitality you've shown us while we've been here. It's been amazing. What a weekend. I want to start by thanking each and every one of you who attended in Auckland, Wellington, or in my hometown here in Melbourne, Australia. It has been amazing, and I want to thank not only the people that attended, but every single speaker, including some that got a little bit emotional.
Knowing that Avi's camera was filming me and capturing me, sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional there, but it was like that during that time.
I'm losing my mic, which is a sign. That's a sign for me to wrap it up, but let me tell you that Avi is not just a national treasure, he's an international treasure, and he's a role model that proves to young people and not so young people around the world, if you care about your community and if you simply have a cell phone and courage, you can be a great journalist too. Thanks for coming to my
What you've just seen there is a rare miracle. You know, we're in a church and we've seen a miracle. We've seen Ezra Levant talk for 5 minutes.
What I find interesting from that whole story is the same New Zealand Herald that keeps telling us Chantel is not a reliable source. Suddenly, she was so reliable that her rumour was enough to run a hit piece on me demanding the government ban me.
But I'm so thankful for people like Avi Yemini so that we could actually see what was going on in Melbourne, so we could feel like we weren't alone. People like Ezra Levant so that we could see what was going on in Canada, so that the trucker convoy had a voice, so that we could feel empowered to say no.
Victoria was a warning to the world. If we didn't have this guy here in Victoria spreading the message of what was happening here, who knows what could have happened everywhere else. We were like the canary in the coal mine. If I didn't have Avi's face on my phone screen to look at every single night when his reports came out, I may not be a senator today. But I stepped up because he stepped up and he gave me the courage to step up.
Please make him feel welcome, Melbourne's own Nick Patterson.
Avi, I read your book. It was a really good book. It's hard for me to say that to you, but it was a really good book. There were no big, eloquent words in there, and it read the way you speak. And I knew it was true. His whole story was true. I knew because in the beginning chapters, he talks about when he lived in, or when he was hanging out in the Balaclava, at this little hustler's place. I used to hang out at that same place. There you go. He talks about when he got bashed up by the Paran boys. I don't know if you want to know this, but my cousin was one of those guys.
I want to say that I was 15 years old. I think Avi was 14. It was a Saturday night. I was out with my friends. There was a big crowd of people in Caulfield Park, teenagers, a lot of commotion, and I'm hanging out with my friends and I see lots of people moving towards a large crowd, and I tapped some guy on the shoulder and I said, "Hey, what's going on over there? How come everybody's heading to that corner of the park?" And somebody says, "Avi's been arrested." Right?
So the book was totally accurate, and I found it, even though I knew most or a lot of what was in it, I still found it a very interesting and intriguing read. That's the way I came away from it, and I would recommend it to anybody as a good read.
And the reason I could keep going and keep doing that was because of journalists like Avi Yemini. So thank you, Avi. That's why. I'm not normally this emotional, but I just wanted to, it's very heartfelt because it's really inspired me to actually be more in this profession and continue to do this, because
I could go back to weddings. Weddings is a great industry. You make thousands of dollars, you just video people getting drunk, and you go home. You don't have to deal with all the criticisms from the media. You don't have to deal with people calling me a white supremacist and a Nazi.
But I'm extremely anti.
It's about my book, not about.
Oh, sorry. Okay, well, that's why I said questions. Yes, questions.
Who's your favourite child?
Next question. One thing is very clear, though. I'm extremely proud of him. I'm very proud of him. And anybody that knows, a few years ago, we weren't on the best of terms for a few years, but now we're on very good terms, and I have a lot of respect for him.
I know sometimes it's not easy to support this guy. It's not easy. I see it firsthand. My life would actually be much easier if I didn't support Avi Yemini. But I support him for the work that he does. I support him for the important work that he does, and I think that's possibly why you're all here today as well. And thank you guys for listening to my little chat today. I'll hand it back to Cam. Thank you so much, guys.
Fernando.
Well, as you can see, all the speakers were fantastic. I've got to say my favourite moment was, especially after the white woke government spent a year banning me from the country, was the moment the local Indigenous Maori freedom fighters, the warriors, gave me a real welcome to country. After seeing the haka, I think it's pretty clear why those brave protesters who threatened our first venue in Wellington didn't have the guts to come out and actually protest, to follow through with their threats at the Wellington church who took us in. Keyboard warriors, they also plastered the neighbourhood with hateful signs in a last-ditch attempt to turn the local community against me. But the community were united, and what I realised on this special trip is something that I had no idea would happen. I met some great people from a great institution, the Destiny's Church, who saved us by hosting the event. And, you know, like many people, I've only ever known about them through the lenses of the mainstream media lies. So, Kiwis, this is my pledge to you. I'll be back. And I think if New Zealand falls, we're all going to fall. Australia will just be a couple of hours later. The rest of the world will fall. So I'm coming here more than this trip. I'm going to come here to fight for you, but because I'm selfish, I'm fighting for me, and I think we need to fight for the rest of the world by winning the battle in New Zealand. For everyone else, head over to rebelfromthestart.com and bookmark the page, because next week I'm in Israel and other events around the world in your local city are coming. I'd love to see you and meet you all there, just as I did in New Zealand and Melbourne. Thanks again to everyone. The real reason for banning me was not some conviction that they knew didn't meet the threshold. It was my propensity to incite people with opposing views. Holy crap, I wear that with a badge of honour. That is exactly what I do, and that's what you should do in an open, free, democratic state. I had an amazing weekend meeting so many of my supporters in 3 cities. But guess what? I'm going to more places, and I'm quite possibly going to head to your local town or city. So head over to rebelfromstart.com. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, buy the book. Read the reviews. How can you not want to read it? I'm not biased. But then bookmark the page, because if your city isn't already listed there, it possibly and probably and hopefully will be in the near future. rebelfromthestart.com. Get the book and watch this space. I'm off to Israel now. See you guys in Tel Aviv next week.